So now we need to talk types of reinforcers. I'll be very honest and say that the more that you can come up with examples of these scenarios in everyday daily functioning, the better you're going to be able to pick them out when they're presented to you on a test. And I'll definitely do my best to give you some examples of these things. So when we talk types of reinforcers, this is any kind of event that strengthens behavior, okay? So whether we talk about a positive reinforcement or a negative reinforcement, at the end of the day, what you need to know is that any kind of thing that reinforces and strengthens a behavior is a reinforcer, okay? So, examples of these concepts, there are two types, positive reinforcement and negative reinforcement. In this scenario of positive reinforcement, to obtain the desired behavior, so you're strengthening that behavior, you want it to continue, you add a desirable stimulus. So you add a desirable thing, something that someone would like. So, examples of this. Getting a hug. We like hugs. They make us feel good. They're comforting. Getting a paycheck, okay? Many of you guys use the excuse, well, if I got paid to be at school, I'd be more willing to do my work, okay? Money is a good thing. We like money. Money causes us to carry out certain behaviors. You wouldn't work if you didn't have money. The same thing goes for chores. If you didn't have a little bit of an allowance, okay, most of you guys, you wouldn't end up doing chores around the house. You just tell your parents to just go, jump in a lake, okay? So these are positive reinforcers. Another type of reinforcer is a heat lamp. So you can see that in the case of animals, because remember, it's not just that we talk about human behavior. This is present in animal behavior as well. Okay, so heat lamps are positive reinforcers because they are stimuli that provide heat when a meerkat is cold. Okay, so when it's in the zoo, it's going to head toward the heat lamp because it positively reinforces. Okay, it gives it a desirable stimulus of being warm in the cold. The other kind of reinforcer to discuss is a negative reinforcer, or negative reinforcement in general. This is when you remove a negative or aversive stimulus, okay? So in this scenario, this is when you are getting rid of something we don't like. And the reason why this is a reinforcer, why it strengthens behavior, is because if you get rid of this negative thing, you'll be more likely to continue to carry out that behavior that got out of your way in the first place. So an example of this is fastening your seatbelt to turn off the really annoying beeping that happens in your car, okay? If you know that beeping is going to happen, that aversive stimulus is there, but if you plug in your seatbelt, you're good to go and it won't be there anymore, you're going to keep doing it over and over again. There's a reason why they put that annoying thing in there, to encourage you to buckle your seatbelt. There are some pretty common types of examples out there for you guys as well. Chewing gum is a negative reinforcer, okay? Thinking about it in, this general sense, it takes away bad breath. That's an aversive thing. People don't like to have bad breath, and nobody wants to talk to somebody or be around someone that has bad breath. So what gum does is it removes that negative of the bad breath. So if you know gum covers it up, you're going to be more likely to go toward that behavior again and to continue chewing it. If we move on to a further subset of this, we have to talk primary and secondary reinforcers, okay? Because there is a difference, as if we haven't already confused you enough. Primary reinforcers are things that are going to cause you to carry out and strengthen certain behaviors because they are innately or naturally satisfying some level of biological need that you have. Food, drink, breathing is going to be, air is a primary reinforcer, okay, because you need air. So anything that reinforces biological needs, okay, and meets those, provides you with a positive stimulus in those regards. Those are primary reinforcers, okay? So in those scenarios, what we discussed earlier with the meerkat and heat, body temperature and being comfortable in that is a primary reinforcer because it's a biological need. Now, secondary reinforcers are conditioned reinforcers. So that means, guys, we've learned to respond to them. They're learned reinforcers. It's getting a level of power because it's been associated with a primary reinforcer. So, some examples of these: grades, praise, smiles of approval. Money is a secondary reinforcer. Money's paper. That's all that it is. Okay? If you were to go to Japan and then come here to the United States and try to pay somebody in yen, which is their currency, it wouldn't mean anything. Okay? So money is a secondary reinforcer. There are also, as if we haven't confused you enough, in addition to all of this, immediate and delayed reinforcers. So in these scenarios, they are exactly as they sound. Immediate reinforcers are ones that happen very close to that behavior in terms of time frame. Okay, so if you think back to the operant chamber, the Skinner box, a rat gets a food pellet anytime it presses a bar after a series of learned behaviors. That is immediately being reinforced, okay? You feeling like your stomach is growling really, really hard when you come home from school. You go to the refrigerator and you grab an apple for a snack. That apple is an immediate reinforcer. Delayed reinforcers, on the other hand, are items that come in terms of a delayed time frame from a behavior. So, an example of this is a paycheck. Think about it. You don't get paid when you are at your job every day necessarily, unless you're in certain fields like waiting tables or things like that. For the most part, you get a paycheck at the end of a week or 2 weeks. The teachers here at school, for example, we're paid every 2 weeks. We have a very set schedule. 1st of the month, 15th of the month. Okay, so you work to get to that delayed reinforcer of the paycheck in 2 weeks' time. Okay, so those are delayed reinforcers. We are more inclined to engage in small, immediate reinforcers as human beings, okay? We like to do things like watch TV. That is a lot more interesting and engaging to us and rewarding than, something like a large delayed reinforcer like getting A's, okay? Those require consistent behaviors, typically. Delayed reinforcers do. So if you have the option between watching TV or studying for your test that happens in 2 weeks to be able to get an A, more than likely you're going to go for the watching TV part because, that test, it's a little further away, so you can wait a little bit, okay? As a final wrap-up to reinforcers, in positive reinforcement, you have an increase in the likelihood of the response of the behavior by adding, hence the positive, okay, or giving a positive stimulus. So adding an item, okay? You are getting $5 for an A on each of your grades on your report card. Okay, that's a positive reinforcer. Candy for every right answer that you give in class, okay, in terms of a desired response. And we'll do some activities on positive reinforcement to kind of further this along. Now, negative reinforcement, on the other hand, is when we increase the likelihood of the behavior or the response to continue, so it will be strengthened because we're removing, that's the negative part, okay, we're subtracting an aversive stimulus, specifically a negative stimulus. So another example added to this is taking aspirin or Advil to relieve a headache, okay? If that psychoactive drug gets rid of the aversive situation of having a headache, you're going to keep taking that drug. Faking an illness to avoid going to school. If you know that it gives you an opportunity to be able to get out of school for a day and not have to come into AP Psych class, you might do it, okay? And you might continue to fake being sick as a result. Another example would be using an umbrella to get out of the rain, okay? We don't like feeling wet, and especially in weather like this, being cold along with it. So we use an umbrella to remove that aversive stimulus of being wet.